Landcare New South Wales is the voice for the many land carers that are working out in their landcare groups right across New South Wales. Landcare started over 25 years ago, but Landcare New South Wales has only been around since 2007.
I guess the thing that's most interesting for me is that there are almost as many land carers living in cities and peri-urban areas as there are who are living in country areas.
There is such diversity with landcare groups. You have urban-based, farm-based, ones that look after koalas, but I think the similarity between them all is they're passionate. They're passionate about their local spot, they're passionate about doing what's important to them, and they're passionate about making a difference and making partnerships. So that's what I see as probably the greatest strength of Landcare.
It's really important that the resource base that is the foundation of all food production is cared for, because without a healthy resource base our production declines, and obviously in a world where dealing with competing interests such as climate change, overpopulation and all those sort of things, protecting the resource base is something that's essential.
Landcare operate in many communities that I've lived in, particularly regional New South Wales, and it's very hard not to get a personal connection with the group, because they're community people who are volunteers, who are passionate about their community and the sustainability of their community, and it's very hard not to be inspired by that or be passionate about what they're doing.
Well, I started back in the early 90s. I was dairy farming then. Landcare was just getting going in the North Coast, and I just thought it was important that we were part of that movement. I always had an interest in land and land management and environment. We actually just planted around Cedar Point Hall a bit of common land. We got it wrong and we got some of it right. But what it did was involve the families, and we involved all our children, and we planned out a whole area around the hall and just let it grow.
Landcare offered to me the most unexpected shift in my life I could ever have expected. Through the thick of the drought back in about 2006, 2007, in a nearby region, they suffered from a spate of farmer suicides in a very short period of time. And a lot of our community were going and attending these funerals because they knew them. This is devastating. So we set ourselves an ambition to try and make sure that we didn't lose one of our members to suicide. We achieved that. To date, we have achieved in making sure that we are there to support our community, and we haven't lost anyone to suicide. It's not to say that we haven't had mental health challenges in our community, but what we have done is we did whatever we could to make sure that we had things there to support the humans, because Landcare is actually people care.
I started out as a professional bush regenerator and was a supervisor of a lot of sites, and decided that there was some gaps in the bush care or land care area that needed filling. So we actually started an organisation called International Environmental Weed Foundation, which quickly moved on to become known as Habitat Network. And the Habitat Network basically looks at small birds and small bird habitat corridors and connections. And we're getting the small native birds like little fairy wrens, firetails and what have you, travelling down around Tarban Creek Bridge, Gladesville Bridge, round to Gladesville Hospital. So it's quite a long corridor, and our Habitat Network now has over 600 people.
One of the comments that kept coming back from young people I was working with over and over again as to why they weren't volunteering with existing groups was that they weren't feeling connected to that older generation. But then the social media platforms kind of jumped, and people were, getting on board and looking for opportunities online, and that's pretty much the main engagement tool that we use now. It's really socially interactive, it's visual, it's free, and it's really easy to use. So for me, I find that is probably the most successful way that I'm connecting with young volunteers.
We bought a house on the outskirts of Dubbo that had its own Landcare group. And they were making where we live better. There was walking tracks were provided, better open green space. They looked after the Ulamogo Creek in the area.
We started our own little Landcare group in our own little farming community back in 1989. That Landcare group was a terribly successful little group with all of my neighbouring farmers. We achieved enormous results, planted some 100,000 trees through our little valley, conducted weed control, feral animal control, did farm management planning, biodiversity, fenced off riparian zones and all that sort of wonderful stuff.
I started with Landcare New South Wales in 2014, and that was when it had just secured a very significant grant from the Vincent Fairfax Family Foundation.
So the Family Foundation is a legacy of the Fairfax family, so Sir Vincent Fairfax and his wife Lady Nancy Fairfax, and it's 52 years old. The foundation funds in 4 themes, and one of them is agriculture. Our aim under our agriculture theme is to support the viability of the Australian agriculture sector. There was a lot of research done, and part of that was around talking to local farmers, and I recall some of them saying to me, if I really wanted to do something interesting in agriculture, we should talk to our local Landcare groups. Landcare was an organisation well known to the VFFF, and we decided that we'd take a closer look at that. What we found was an organisation that was run on an incredible team of volunteers at a critical point in their business life cycle, if you like.
One of the great benefits of working with VFFF, they work solidly with us to identify what they saw as our greatest area of need, and they said that they saw that we needed strategic planning and really understanding our business and our business case.
The Sustaining Landcare campaign was timed to basically take our ideas to all of the members of Parliament and candidates prior to the 2015 state election. And we needed to make sure that the politicians knew that in order to allow a volunteer movement to thrive and survive into the future, it does need some support. Volunteers will do a huge amount of work, but they do need some paid staff, some administration. We managed to succeed in getting all of the political parties to come out with a really strong Landcare policy. That was a really major achievement because it was just the same spirit of bipartisanship that saw Landcare develop through its early years. And what we ended up with was a $15 million over 4-year program for Landcare support.
Last year we created the first strategic plan for Landcare New South Wales, and this year we've revised that plan and we built on top of it with a business plan that will see the organisation through the next 5 years. And we're quite confident that at the end of that 5-year period, Landcares will be very proud of the organisation that's been built.
One of the great success stories of Landcare is its ability to partner. The funding that was from the VFFF has delivered a $15 million state government program investing in local Landcare coordinators, a future fund for Landcare and a community of practice for Landcare. Any investors looking to invest in our sector, that's an enormous return. So this is an enormous boost to rural and regional New South Wales.
Landcare contributes to the community in many ways. Government has a role to play in investing in our communities across the regions in the state, but we can't do it alone. So they really are a partner for government, for our philanthropic sector, in making sure that we invest in ourselves and our natural environment. What we can't afford is them not to be there.
So Landcare provides opportunities for government to deliver programs. It provides opportunities for government to engage with local communities. And Landcare also enables a whole range of organisations and institutions, even individuals, who want to achieve change. Landcare provides a network. We have thousands of people involved in the Landcare community. It's a truly grassroots, community-driven, community-owned movement.